Is that all the magic you command?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, it's Ty
And Eric.
with ShantottoCast.
It's our last episode, once again.
Our fourth and last episode.
Yeah, Ty is going to pursue a career in, hair modeling? Probably.
Yeah. When you're a hair model like this, what else can you do? I have a gift, and, I'm going to try to play competitive FFTCG while I'm on the road, but I don't know. When I'm just doing all those hair commercials, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to have time. But...
Gift is a strong word, but, because we can't afford a hairstylist for the podcast, we're just going to take it easy this time and see what happens.
Yeah.
So, today's topic is something pretty simple and straightforward.
Yeah. Much less silly than our last episode, definitely.
Yeah. a little more serious, a little less silly, but we're looking at cycles. So, what are cycles? Cycles in card games are sets of cards across all colors in each individual set that all have a common theme, but the effect of that card or cards is relevant to each color.
Yeah. And sometimes they may all have the same effect, just kind of in a slightly different way.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the best way to explain a cycle is to just point out examples. So obviously, cycle, like a lot of the things we talk about on this podcast, originated in Magic the Gathering. And this is something that goes all the way back to the beginning of Magic the Gathering, because the prime example of a cycle is in Alpha, in the Alpha printing of Magic the Gathering, where they got Giant Growth, Lightning Bolt, Ancestral Recall, Dark Ritual, and Healing Salve. So all three of those cards were a 1-mana instant that does 3 of something, some more strong than others. As you can see, his Ancestral Recall is literally part of the Power 9. And another good example of a cycle that was in the early set was the Moxes, where we had Ruby, Sapphire, Jet, Pearl, and Emerald. All 0-mana artifacts that tap for a color of each color. So that's kind of a very straightforward cycle. And we've seen cycles in other card games outside of Magic. We've seen them in Duel Masters. And another one that always comes to mind for me is Yu-Gi-Oh! I used to play Monarchs back in the day, and Monarchs are a very good example of that. Because there was the Wind Monarch that bounced something back to hand, the Water Monarch that blew a back row. And while Yu-Gi doesn't have as much flavor to the colors, it was still a full cycle. And some of those cycles actually turned into full archetypes.
Yeah, a lot of the legacy stuff. I think the last time we tried recording this episode, we mentioned, Starboy becoming Me Starboy.
Yeah.
The new Link monster variants of the updated cards.
Yeah.
So I guess we can move on and start talking about Final Fantasy, finally.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy...
Sorry.
Go.
I was going to say, Final Fantasy, like every card game, actually has these cycles as well. These ones I had to kind of dig for while we were doing research. There were a couple that we were kind of iffy on. There's still some that we're still a little iffy on, and we're going to be talking about that this episode.
Yeah.
But,
well, by we, Ty means he.
Yeah.
I was busy. He did the research.
But anyway, it's okay. I still love you, and you're supportive of my hair career going forward. But like a lot of other card games, you see this a lot in the first set. We have got 2 good examples of cycles in Opus 1, one kind of and these sets are going to have like varying amount of cycles, and it's going to be interesting to get into them.
Mm-hmm.
But for Opus 1, the first one, and this one's pretty apparent, very similar to Magic, is the 1-drop EX Final Fantasy Tactics cycle, which is the 1-drop Shiva, the 1-drop Ifrit, the 1-drop Moogle, Sylph, Rama, and Golem.
Oh, we didn't correct them. It still says Gollum.
Golem.
Lord of the Rings TCG.
Oops. Golem, yeah.
Here we are.
So all 5 of them, they're 1-drops, they're EXs, they do something relative to the color. Ifrit deals damage, Shiva deals damage to a doll, Rama deals damage to an active. Like, all of them do have their kind of place, and they're all EXs.
Yeah. And the other firm cycle that we have here is the 1-drop vanillas, the Evokers and Summoners. They don't really need an introduction. They are pretty obvious what they are. They're 1-drops. They don't do anything. They just exist. They sit on the board.
Yeah, just one in each color.
But what we couldn't really decide on whether it was valid or not, we have the anthems. Mm-hmm. So we have Lulu and a Crow and a Cross, Lebro, Waka, Duke Larg, who has many nicknames, and Maria.
Yeah.
Each card in this list, except for Maria, gives a 1k buff universally to every forward of the given color, Maria, however, costs 1 extra, and she gives the 1k buff to everything on your side of the field, regardless of color.
Yeah. So it's like each color still has a representation.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that one's slightly different and arguably better than the others. But at the same time, I think we could still call this a cycle. It's still a little weird, but
I'd argue it's a cycle.
Yeah. I think it's safe to argue that it is a cycle.
So if we're not going to argue on it, then we can talk about Opus 2.
Yeah. The first cycle, this is one that's very present, and this is one that you could very easily see, and that was the Moogle cycle. Specifically the Final Fantasy XII Moogle cycle, which was Montblock, Hurdy, Nono, Sorbet, Gertie, and Horn. So all of these, we had to bring up pictures because no one in our playgroup plays with them.
Yeah, we couldn't remember them.
Yeah, we couldn't remember what these do. But, so starting with Montblock, he deals damage equal to the amount of Moogles you control. Hurdy is...
Dulling.
Dull forwards of cost
with a cost equal to the number of Moogles you control.
Yeah, which is a little bizarre. No is activate.
Yep.
Yeah, activate forwards up to the amount of job Moogle. Gertie is choose one active forward and it loses 1,000 for each job Moogle.
Yep.
Sorbet is a blocking forward gains 1k for each job Moogle.
And Horn,
the one that we really couldn't remember.
Yeah, this one we had a lot of trouble.
Yeah. Draw 1 card for each job Moogle you control, then place that many cards drawn from your hand on the bottom of your deck.
That's a very water flavor.
Yeah.
So.
And something interesting about all of these is that they all you have to pay 2 of the color and tap it to activate the effect.
Mm-hmm.
And while they are very indicative, they do rely on Moogle synergies, which we don't really see in the game right now. There's not a lot of it. Someone in our play group, Jeff, quick shout out to him, he's been trying to push a Moogle deck. He's had some very mild success with it.
Yeah.
And it can, like, sneak up and get you sometimes. They're interesting. But, and it takes a lot of advantage of this cycle, especially with Hurdy and...
Yeah, it's just really hard to pick a color to stick with, or 2 colors to stick with, because Moogles are just too spread out.
Yeah.
But moving on from that, the other cycle the one of us can argue for, the other one probably could argue against, and I don't think either of us really have a solid side in this.
Yeah, it is weird.
We're at the beginning of the Mannequins. So that's continued in Opus 3 with Mannequins Part 2, but they're basically just slightly worse versions of their standard counterparts. These are based on the characters from the Dissidia series, and they're not really utilized.
Mm-hmm.
They saw a little bit of play in Opus 2, a little bit in Opus 3.
Yeah.
But they're just kind of gone. They're dead. Nobody plays them.
And the weird thing about these, not only are they across 2 sets, and it was the only cycle that we could really find that was across 2 sets, they only had 1 real support card. And in X-Death, and X-Death was just a lightning card, and that was like it. And they were almost this archetype, but they were kind of a cycle. Like, that's... Like, you could almost argue that it isn't a cycle, it's an archetype, but at the same time, we do see some cycles that will be basically like half of an archetype.
Yeah.
So these they're a little iffy. But,
we can discuss it in the comments.
Yeah, yes. Please feel free to discuss.
So, on Opus 3?
Yeah,
Opus 3. So Opus 3, we have the hand size cards. Cards with different effects based on your or your opponent's hand size. Good examples are Black Waltz 2, Legend Vivi, Sid Alstein, Zidane Galoof, Black Waltz 3, and Quina. So they all have relevant effects based on their color related to hand size. I think, which one, I think, it's Black Waltz 3 that has an effect based on your hand size. Everything else is based on opponents, am I right?
Quinoa and Galoof have based on yours.
Oh, yeah, because Galoof, you get a buff if you have certain... Yeah.
If I remember correctly, Black Waltz is weird because I think
it's reduction.
Yeah, it's reduction, especially because everything else is either a buff. But, that's in flavor with lightning.
Yep. I tried so hard to make that card work.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, the only one... Well, some of these do see quite a bit of play. We still see the Legend Vivi every here and there. We see Black Waltz 2.
Sid and Zidane are...
Yeah.
They're up there.
Yeah. Zidane is still, in my opinion, this is insane card. I'm really glad that he is seeing a lot of play now.
Yeah.
And then... Yeah, I think we can move on to the other... This one, another kind of weird cycle.
Yeah.
And we kind of noticed this, and we almost want to put this forward as like an addendum to our colors episode.
Right.
And that's board wipes. So Opus 3 saw 2 summons in the Light and Darkness slots, Ultima and Zodiac.
Mm-hmm.
And both of them are board wipes. Ultima breaks all forwards, Zodiac breaks opponents' forwards, and then you take a toll based on it.
Yep.
And, you know, that's interesting, and it's kind of cute. We wouldn't call this a cycle if it was just in Opus 3. Because in Opus 8, and we're going to be getting to that later, we saw the same mechanic. So we almost want to kind of call it the same thing, because the new one was also on summons. So if we even see another light or dark summon kind of coming up in the future, I wouldn't be too surprised if it was another board wipe.
Yeah, definitely.
But we thought it would be worth it to at least kind of talk about it for a second.
Right.
Like, it's at least bring it up.
Yeah. So then, like we said previously, we have the second half of Mannequins were released in Opus 3. Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah.
Moving on to Opus 4. We have the pay, color, animate monsters. These are monsters that become forwards based on, you know, some effect or whatever, but you pay for them with one of their relevant color.
Yeah.
And these were side crept, not necessarily power crept, by some later monsters that came out in later sets, Opus 6. But we have Bomb, Swamp Monk, Kobold Droid Yin, Bonga Thief, Behemoth, and Marlboro.
Yeah. So they all animate as a forward. And it's something that we should probably point out is that animate, as in it goes from a monster to becoming a forward.
Yep.
That's just kind of a local term that we use in Chicago. Don't know if it's been kind of adopted.
I'm willing to bet it's,
But I prefer just calling them animated.
Yep,
and we're going to be
same.
referring to them as animated. We probably already have.
Yeah.
But so all of them, you can pay one to animate it, but it also has something relevant to the color. Obviously, Bomb is damage. Swamp Monk is dulling and freezing something, or just dulling something. Kobold or Yin swings under things. Bonga Thief is brave. Behemoth is damage too.
Damage to a damage forward.
Yeah, and then
Marlboro is reduction.
So all of them have something very indicative of their colors, and then we also see that in the next cycle, which is just one-drop monsters.
Also from Opus 4, yeah.
Yes.
So each character or each one of the each monster does they have an effect that you use that it's a one drop and it's an effect based on their color. So Bomb deals damage, Flan discards and searches another Flan.
Yes.
Ties the ice player. Cactar can deal damage in 2 different ways. Goblin gives haste. Is that the goblin we're talking about?
If I remember correctly, no, that's the Earth Goblin. It gives 2k to something.
Right. Yeomon gives first strike, and Adamantoise reduces power.
Reduces damage.
Reduces damage.
Yeah, and then it also has a little draw card.
Yeah, draw effect. Yeah. So double flavor.
Yeah, and something kind of interesting about this cycle, and one of them just kind of now realizing, well, the obvious thing is all of them can break themselves.
Yeah.
But Flan and Goblin are the only one, or Flan and Cactar are the only ones that do something else as well. Because with Cactar you could deal the 10k, or you could just deal the 1k. Flan is able to search another Flan. And it's just kind of an interesting little bit of flavor, especially because those are 2 colors that tend to search a lot, or be able to put that extra effort in.
Yeah.
And that's something that we're going to be kind of seeing going forward as well.
Right. And then moving on to Opov 5.
Whoops.
Ty took the notes, all right. We have the auto trigger monsters: Grenade, Buckaboo, Laic, Hillgigus, Black Knight, and Tonberry. You want to talk about those?
Yeah. So they're all kind of interesting. They all have kind of effects that we've either seen or haven't really seen before, but are still very indicative of their colors. So all of these just automatically trigger when something happens. Grenade is when the opponent plays a forward that has 8,000 or less power, deals at 8k. Buckaboo is when they play a character they have to discard 2. Lake is when they swing, breaks, draw a card, activate all characters. Hillgigus cancels an action ability. Black Knight is basically a floating Odin.
4-drop.
Tonberry kills something that searches. Yeah. And these are all kind of weird effects. But they are also still pretty powerful. And while we don't see a lot of these being played currently, we do still see Laic every here and there. And Black Knight's just, I want to say it sees play, but it doesn't. I love that card.
Yeah, I want it to be good.
Yeah.
I want it to be better.
Yeah. And then there's a cycle that we do actually kind of argue about.
Yeah.
And that's modularity.
Yep. So basically, all of these have optional, you select, 1 or 2 of effect. Fire didn't get one. However, that slot was filled, so we still have 5 colors covered.
6 colors.
6.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
Got magic on the brain.
Yeah, I can't count. Yeah, we're really gonna become a magic.
Yeah, we've been talking about magic so much.
We have Rama, we have Wall, we have Glaciolabalos, we have Schrodinger, which it's arguable.
Yeah.
Diabolos, and in place of Fire, we have Light with Vaughn.
Mm-hmm. And all of these cards have seen at least a little bit of play. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Rama and Wool have seen quite a bit of play.
Oh yeah, Glacia got reprinted.
Yeah. Glacia has been seeing a lot of play. And now Schrodinger is because of Dead Whale, and then Diabolos is obviously a very powerful card.
Yep.
Vaughn is the only one out of that cycle that hasn't been seeing play. Mm-hmm. And this is to, like, give a little bit of an antidote about our note-taking. Like, when I was writing this, I was so mad. Because when I immediately got to Opus 5, I was like, modularity. I was like, modularity wasn't, like, basically put into the set. It's a very good thing. It has all these really good cards. Diabolos, Lol, like, I was so excited for it. And then Fire was just missing it. And I could have sworn that there was, like, one Fire card that had modularity. And I don't even think we still don't have a Fire modularity card.
Nope.
Like, it's so bizarre. But when I was talking to you about it, you kind of argued we should put it in anyway.
Yeah.
Because it is a bit of a cycle. It is still in 6 colors. I just feel weird about it because it's just missing a color. Like,
missing a normal color.
Yeah.
Like, light and dark still kind of count. Yeah. Argue it in the comments with us. Mm-hmm. We'd love to see the explosion.
Yeah, I'd love to see just kind of how people view this cycle as well.
Yeah. And I guess we can move on to Opus 6.
Yeah.
So we have later on we get the alt creep. Side creep, the 0-cost activate monsters. We have Goblin, Militesi Curl, Zoo, Gigas, Colossus, and Sahagin. And these are similar to the other animate monsters. However, they cost 1 more to play each, but they cost 0 to animate once per turn, and they have a similar effect to their Opus 4 counterparts when they do something.
Yeah. And if it's not a similar effect, it's something also indicative of the color.
Correct.
Like, what was it? Military Girl has almost the exact same effect.
It is the exact same effect as Swamp Monk, yeah.
And then Colossus deals just kind of widespread damage instead of focus damage when it takes damage.
Mm-hmm. No, it's one of the swings.
Yeah,
swing and then does 1k, yeah.
And then Sahagin gives you a loot effect of drawing a card, discarding a card instead. But these are all cards that we haven't seen a lot of play. As with a lot of things on this list now that I think of it.
Right.
But it was still kind of interesting to see it because, as you said earlier, they weren't so much power crept as they were kind of side crept.
Yeah.
But they still do feel better than their originals. And even now, I think the only one out of all of the anime monsters that still sees play is like slightly Behemoth and barely.
I would argue, the Behemoth. Yeah. That sounds accurate to me.
But this was still a really cool cycle. And I did kind of like how they did kind of side creep it, how they were able to put another kind of colors aspect onto these cards, and I hope we see it again.
Yeah, definitely.
And that kind of seems like the way that monsters kind of should be.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of actually what happened in Chapters, where in the earlier sets you see monsters that you have to pay 2 or 3 to animate, and then after a while they just all became free.
Yeah. But moving on, we can talk about the on-demand monsters, aka the wannabe summons. These are all, monsters that sit on the field, and they have almost the exact same effect as summons, but they're on the field waiting to be used as opposed to sitting in your hand waiting to be cast. So we have Ruby Dragon, Snow Giant, Wingvern, Mashusu, Deepburn, and Dracobaltian. And they all mimic a summon of their respective colors.
Yeah. So, like, obviously some of these are a little obvious. Like, Ruby Dragon's just
a Bahamut.
Yeah, Bahamut. Snow Giant's just Shiva. And I have to get to it. I have to talk about it. It's mandatory.
Here it comes.
The other reason why this show's obviously gonna end. I hate Wingvern, and I think it's a terrible, terrible card. I'm even driving you to drink, Eric.
Yep, look what you're doing to me.
When this card got revealed, I had like this hate campaign against it almost.
Yeah.
I hate this card. I think it's so bad.
Very prejudiced.
I'd much rather play, obviously. I'm very prejudiced against bad cards. But I'd much rather play just like an Alexander. Like, But to be fair, none of these really saw any play.
Yeah.
Musushu saw a little play.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, like, none of these made a big impact. This was kind of a cycle that our playgroup was kind of excited for, because it was like, oh, some of these I could tech in, like Snow Giants. Snow Giant on the surface looks like a decent card. It's just, it doesn't have as much utility as it probably should. But, yeah, that was a fun cycle.
Yeah, to be fair, now I consider Wing Vern a bad card. At the time it was announced, I was like, you know what? I can see where it might be useful. It costs 1 less than Alexander. We'll see what happens. And it's just kind of garbage, so we'll just forget it. Moving on.
Yeah.
Moving on, we have Opus 7.
Yeah, and Opus 7 has 4 cycles, which that was kind of a fun part of the note-taking process, is that some sets only had like 1 or 2 cycles. This one has 4.
Yep.
And it made me actually go back and like redo all of my work to make sure that there weren't cycles that I was missing or something like that. But Opus 7 was a very fun set, and also had... And these cycles are, like, really cool. And the first one that I'm personally a big fan of, I love these cards, is the triggered animating summons, which are Varuna, Gremlin, Condor, Zagnahal, Flanborg, and Giosageno.
They're monsters. I called them summons.
Oh.
Look at this loser.
Oh, no.
Doesn't know the difference.
I'm going to have to go to a Magic podcast.
Yeah, you and your friggin' artifacts.
Yeah, obviously. But yeah, so all these monsters, they have a kind of trigger that makes a lot of sense in the colors. Varuna is dealing damage, Gremlin is the opponent discarding a card, Condor is hitting 5 backups, Zagnahal is playing a 6-drop or more.
Yep.
Flamborg is breaking something across 3 or less, and then Giosageno is bouncing something. And they're all, like, overset. They're all good cards. They're good cards, Brent. And they've been seeing more or less some play. Like, Varuna's been seeing some play in some Fire Warrior of Light decks and kind of like aggro fire decks. Yeah,
Flamborg is more of a mono lightning staple, just because that replication is really useful.
Yeah, very good against mono water as well.
Yeah, definitely. But next we have the hand trap monsters, and that term kind of comes from Yu-Gi-Oh, where some creatures or some monsters could be discarded for a trap card like effect. And in Final Fantasy, we have these are actually very versatile monsters, because they have an effect based on whether you discard them or whether you break them from the field. So we have Bomb Goblin, another Zoo, another Flan, just Curl, and Sahagin, another one.
Yeah.
So I think the only ones that really got a lot of love were the Flan and the Curl.
Yeah. Zoo seeing very limited play?
No, yeah. Sahagin has a theoretical infinite with it.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone's actually really pulled it off outside of just practicing or like casuals.
Or just showing it off.
Yeah.
But all these cards, they're interesting, and it is kind of cool to have a versatile card that technically pays 0 to play.
Yeah.
And while the discard effects aren't great, like, for example, the Flan is just a 1k to a blocking forward. The Zoo is being able to activate 2 backups. Zoo's probably the best discard effect.
Yeah, Zoo.
But Curl
definitely
has also a very, very strong effect that you just get to instantly kill a 1-drop monster.
Yeah.
And I love that. Sadly, we haven't seen it played a lot. It's a very good Wind-Earth counter. And if this game had a sideboard, I could almost guarantee we would be seeing that. Even in other colors. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. But all these cards kind of have a home, and I'm sure they will find more of a home. And then we're also getting these in full arts, which is super nice. All custom art.
So excited. And they're now valid in title format as well, which is really huge.
Yeah.
So
hopefully they see a little bit more play in another format. These cards, I really hope that we do see eventually some more hand traps on the same power level with maybe like a little bit different versatility. And oh my god, this is probably, out of all the cycles that we talk about in here, this is probably my favorite.
Oh god, yeah, no, it was a really good cycle.
Yeah.
So next we have the standard units that deal with an alternate color.
Yeah.
These are forwards that, as you mentioned last time we tried to record this episode, it's the closest I think we'll ever get to dual color characters. But all these characters are of their respective colors, but they have an effect from an alternate color if you paid to play that character with that alternate color.
Yeah. And there's 2 in each color, which is kind of a different thing for a cycle. Like, we usually see that across, like, 2 sets, basically.
Right.
But we got it all kind of here. It made drafting kind of interesting, and while not a lot of these have seen playing constructed, they are fun to play in sealed.
Yeah, definitely. I think this was made for sealed.
It definitely was.
They had it in mind.
But the cards are Red Mage, Summoner, Black Mage, Mystic Knight, Ranger, Ninja, Monk, Summoner, Red Mage, Dragoon, Ninja, Mime. And those are 2 per each color, going from red to water, or fire to water, red to water.
Red to water.
And once again, they didn't see a lot of play, but they're still fun cards. Like,
yeah.
And some of these can kind of catch you off guard. Like, I didn't expect while playing against a Fire Ice deck to be able to make a red card make me discard, which is what the Red Mage does, and just goofy things like that. Like, this is another cycle that I'd love to see, and hopefully a little bit stronger.
Yeah, I think this is a good. I think these are good options for more casual decks. Something that's really good. Like we mentioned, sealed, very strong if you're playing with just Opus 7 or mixing 1 or 2 sets only. But yeah, if we got something more like this, some more named characters, I think it would be a lot more interesting. But I don't know how that would work out with flavor and lore and all that. So
plus, I'd also really like to see these in like a popper format, if that ever kind of comes to fruition. I know some people are trying to push it, but I think these would be really solid in those multicolor decks because it just gives you a little bit extra power.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love to see, like, a 6 popper deck that uses, like, the Red Mage.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, I mean, I'll start working on that soon. Yeah. But I guess we can move on to the extra EX summons.
Yeah, so another great cycle. Like, 7 just had so many good cycles.
Right?
Like, all these cycles are, like, at least decent. Like, they're fun at the very least.
Oh, yeah.
And 4 cycles in one set. But, so the extra EX summons are Ifrit, Shiva, again, Alexander, Yojimbo, Rama, and Leviathan. So all of those cards, they have a static effect when you play them from hand, and they have an EX effect, but the EX effect is slightly better. So for example, the Rama, I think reduces by 7k.
Yep.
And then if you hit EX, it reduces by 8k instead. Yep. Leviathan is...
bouncing you back to hand.
And then draw a card if you hit EX?
No, if you hit EX, it breaks it instead. Or puts it in the break zone.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, like, Ifrit just deals extra damage. Shiva normally just freezes things and it dulls it instead.
No, it dulls and freezes.
Dulls and freezes?
Yeah. Alexander, I don't remember exactly what that one does.
He was something with 5 or more, but I forgot what it was. I think that actually might have been the bounce or break.
No, it's Leviathan.
All right.
But then we have the one that sees actual play is Yojimbo.
Yeah.
Buffs by 1k, and then we get a Hecatoncheir air effect. But then if you hit it on the EX, you get plus 3k. Yeah. And the Hecatoncheir effect. Yeah.
And like the crazy thing about that is that puts over Titan, which is another very strong EX card too.
It puts it over Titan only in the sense that it gives a better buff.
Yeah,
if you hit the EX. Titan is still just a one-sided bitch.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. So this was, once again, another good cycle. Rama also saw a little play, but not a lot. But yeah, this is another cycle, I think it's safe to say, like, we very much so welcome back. I'm sure competitive players would love to have it back.
Oh, please.
This EX is such a big aspect of this game, and it's a big reason, at least why I kind of stick around, because that's something I really love about the game, is being able, that when you take damage, you do get an immediate response.
Yeah.
So to have those kind of extra with it's nice.
It's a really good balance of, of uniqueness that other card games just kind of lack.
Yeah.
But I think we can move on to the final set here, and we can talk about Opus 8. Well, final set in terms of what's out right now.
Yeah.
So we have the Devotion summons, based on the summons from Final Fantasy XI. And the word devotion, once again, comes from Magic the Gathering. And so in Magic, it depends on how many lands you have based on what color.
Or it's mana symbols.
Oh, okay.
Angles, yeah.
Okay. You're right. You're right. But in Final Fantasy, at least with these summons, it all depends on how many characters or backups, depending on the card, you control of a certain color.
Yeah.
And they're really only good for monocolored decks, because you wouldn't really have 5 lightning backups in a lightning wind deck or whatever. But we have Ifrit, Shiva, Garuda, Titan, Rama, and Leviathan, all which have an effect relevant to their colors, based on your devotion to that color.
Yeah, and none of these are seeing play right now. I wouldn't be surprised if... I personally love Leviathan. I think Leviathan's great. As someone who really enjoys playing Mono Water Fusoya, it's a great card. And especially, all of these are EXs, which is something I just kind of realized. And... yeah, I hope that these cards see some play.
Yeah, I have high hopes for the Titan, the Leviathan.
Even that Rama would probably see
the Rama for Mono Lightning would be pretty good. Garuda, I mean, you can get a lot of wind stuff out real fast.
It's really good in Chocobo decks. If you want to do like a mono wind Chocobo, I actually watched someone who barely survived damage because they hit Garuda into their 6 damage.
Oh.
They were able to kill the last attacker. It was really fun to watch. It's interesting, but right now Leviathan's the only one that I think is seeing any play. But it's still an interesting cycle.
Yeah, see how it goes. And the next cycle, not the final. When this enters X effect, and then break this character Y effect. And in that we have Golem, Lancer Unit, Basilisk, Luminous Puma, Electric Jellyfish, and Whale Zombie. So Golem, when it enters, it gives a character plus 1 or 2k, and then when you break it, it gives something plus, I think, 3 or 4k.
Yeah.
Lancer Unit,
when it enters Dawn Free something, you could break it, the opponent discards a card, you can only use it during your main phase.
There we go.
Yeah.
Basilisk enters, damages a character, and then break it to break a character, or damaged character.
Which is weird to see in Wind.
Yeah, it's kind of relevant, but it's more of a lightning-based effect. I guess they just wanted to give Wind a little more versatility.
Yeah, just something to help finish something off, especially because you have so much chip and Wind.
Luminous Puma is more or less a minor.
Yeah.
It's close. Electric Jellyfish, when it enters Dull Something, break it to give something haste. That might be the other way around, I don't recall. And then Whale Zombie, you can just, what does that one do?
When it enters, you draw a card, tap it, break it, look at top 2. Scry 2, basically.
Okay.
And this is something that our playgroup's really messing around with right now, especially Whale Zombie. Whale Zombie has obviously been getting a bit of attention lately because he's really good at Schrodinger. But these are also all still cards that I do want to see play. Like, especially Basilisk. Like, Basilisk seems decent if it wasn't so high-costed.
Yeah.
But still, all of these have their place.
Yeah, Electric Jellyfish I expect to see a little bit of play in Mono Lightning. Golem I kind of want to tech into Fire, only because it's good for blocking and attacking.
Yeah. It would also be a very good budget or popper card as well.
Definitely a good one for that. But then we can move on to the oppressive monsters. Again, minus fire.
Yeah, this is another one that's a little weird. I thought about calling them like enchantment monsters, because it's not too hard. I hate to mention it again. All the cards are at least kind of like a card in Magic. So we've got the Lava Spider, which is the one that we left out, which is plus 3k when something attacks. Death Gaze, which is an Oblivion Ring. Scale Toad, which is the opponent has to discard 1 if they have 2 or more, I believe.
2 or more.
At the end of their turn. Death Machine, which actually just recently got eroded, which is it kills something at the end of each player's turn, and then I think it's... I'm trying to remember the new errata, but I think it's if either player has something on board, it dies?
If either player doesn't have something. It used to be that if both players have nothing, then it dies.
Okay, yeah.
But now it's only one person has to have nothing.
Yeah.
Which is much more fair, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because, one person just keeps spamming and breaking small stuff. So...
then Librarian, which is exile top 4, then you get to add 1 to your hand. And then finally is Multi-Gemini, which is just things can't get buffed. So these are all monsters that kind of act like enchantments. They just kind of enter, they have a static effect, they don't really go away, with the exception of Death Machine and Librarian, who break themselves.
Yeah.
So we call them kind of oppressive, but they are oppressive cards. Like, they're a card that it kind of alters the game state. It's almost like an enchant world effect.
It gives one player a distinct advantage over the other, in theory.
Yeah.
And once again, we're lacking fire. However, this time there is no light to make up that difference.
Yeah. Which is why I argue that Fire Spider, or Lava Spider, kind of deserves this spot, only because it enters and it just sits there. Like,
but it's a situational thing. You have to attack to get its effect. It isn't just a sitting, doing something all the time to your opponent. Easily removed or ignored if you want to ignore it.
Yeah.
It's just really scary when paired with cards that buff themselves.
Yeah.
Which is why Multi-Gemini exists. irrelevant there, or little, whatever. I'm talking on my ass. And the last thing we have is a continuation of the Light and Dark board wipes from Opus 3 in Medine and Arc.
Yeah. So these were, like we said before, like this is something that we were kind of struggling with. This is kind of closer to color theory, but we kind of see the continuation of Light and Dark summons that do like a big board effect. So Medine deals 9k to everything, and then Arc is reduce everything by 8k, draw a card for every card put into discard.
Yep.
And that's not too far off from... It's a bit more conditional than Ultima and Zodiark.
Yeah, but the payoff is theoretically just as good.
Yeah.
With less punishment, but you're paying more for these effects.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, because they also don't have the discount. Medine has a discount. I think if you're at 4 or 5 damage.
It's at 5. Yeah.
5. Yeah. But yeah, so that was just something that was worth bringing up. At least it was worth talking about. And as I said earlier, I'm pretty sure that if we do see more Light and Dark summons, they're probably going to be very similar to this. I wouldn't be surprised if we just saw more Light Dark summon, like board wipes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, Shadow Lord, I guess counts.
Yeah, Shadow Lord. Yeah, Shadow Lord's a conditional board wipe.
It's a very conditional board wipe, but it exists.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's our little coverage here of cycles. I'm excited to see what happens in Opus 9.
Yeah.
We'll see if we get any.
Yeah, cycles is definitely something that we're going to see in the future. Something that's always going to be part of the game. It's something that's always going to be in every set. You know, as we could see in varying degrees.
Right.
Some sets might get 3 or 4 cycles. Some sets might get 1. We'll see. Yeah. But as long as this game keeps going, I'm kind of excited. Like, this is, once again, I literally mentioned this like almost every episode. This is a topic we can revisit. This is a topic that we probably will revisit 5, 6 sets down the line, in which we can kind of say like, hey, here's everything else that came out since then. Yeah. So,
thanks for checking us out.
Yeah.
If you feel like supporting us directly, giving a little bit to us to help us improve our equipment, improve the show, we do have a Ko-fi. We'll be linking that in the description as always.
Yep.
Feel free to comment with your opinions on things, argue with us, give us constructive criticism.
Yeah.
And
even just comment if, like, what was your favorite cycle, if we missed any cycles, if you feel like there's one thing from, like, Opus 2 that you're like, oh, well, that thing made sense. Like, feel free to point that out in comments. We're happy to read comments. We're happy to comment or reply.
Yeah.
And we just take any feedback.
Yeah. So I guess we will see you guys later in the future.